All right. Well, I'm coming to the mic because theoretically the machine says we're on. And so if that's the case, then I'm here and streaming live to those individuals out there, and I will take care of the normal advisements, as they say. Ahem. So, welcome to Sacred Grounds, the longest open poetry mic that I know of in the known and unknown universe. Give yourself a small round of applause in preparation for the larger round of applause later. Fine poetry and good food since 1972. I'm looking right at those people if they're looking at me. We have a Facebook group, so you can find that if you're curious about that. Tonight's feature, Karen Huff, who is going to give the Queen's Wave. She is here in the house. This is going to be good. Very good. The keynote is Jimmy Ireland, who may be late, but if he comes late, I'll just put him on when he comes in. And Delta O'Hara is going to be the mini feature, but she is not here yet, but she has transportation issues, which may take her time. So when she comes, she'll be coming, and I'll take care of that. I'm going to thank Mr. Natural for the streaming. Fabulous prizes. I'm going to just demonstrate a few of them here because otherwise it takes too long. The Omnivore's Dilemma, A Natural History of 4 Meals by Michael Pollan. I think I've said that right. Did I say that? Yeah, I read that. Pollan. Okay. Did you read that too? Yeah. Cappuccino Cowboy, in case you're interested. Cappuccino Cowboy by Dustin Lincoln Wells.
Former workmate of mine.
Okay. And now, copy of Poetry Magazine from 1841. Only kidding. And then there's On the Bus. That's On the Bus, not On the Bus, as you can tell. And this is like, has Bukowski and Ann Dillard and a bunch of other individuals, so it's an anthology. There's several really good pieces in here, so I recommend that for a prize. And then of course, there's the keynote and the mini feature as things. If you don't want one of those, you can take one of those if you're going to come here next week. Now, if I may direct your attention to that side of the room, you will see a barrel that says, please donate San Francisco Marin Food Bank. So between Teddy and I and Mr. Natural, we arranged to have a barrel here for donations of food during the course of this month and next month. So by Thanksgiving Day, maybe they'll have a barrel or so or load go to the people who need that. So that's really pretty cool.
Scrape your place right into the
right into that. So I was really pleased to see that. I was glad that came through. If you happen to read a poem that's not by you, I'll give you one of these cards, and you put your name, the poet's name, and the name of the poem, so I don't always say it's Charge of the Light Brigade by George Bukowski. This is the sign-in sheet in case you want to sign in for the email, and we send out 1 email a week, sometimes 2 if I make a mistake. And this is a special that I am doing this Saturday, October 31st at 7:30 p.m. It is not in town, it's out of town. But myself and Kurt Lumpkin are going to be the features there at the Flores Book Company. They've been having a poetry series there for a long time. It's in Pacifica, so I'm going to pass these those way. And if you're interested, you may take one. If not, they'll come back around to me. And the last thing, of course, is the Poet's One-Page Guide to the Open Mic Poetry Scene in San Francisco. Copies of that are there. I think that takes care of everything in terms of announcements.
Is that poetry calendar online?
Oh yes, the poetry calendar is online. Thank you, Stephanie and Manny, for pointing that out. And if there's changes that need to be made, people tell me about them, and that's how I find out. Or someone here comes and says, you know that Poetry Mill magazine? It's gone. Or there's a new one. There's a couple new ones that I haven't gotten information for yet, so I'm waiting for that. Let's see what else is there. Oh yes, how could I possibly forget? A round of applause for our hosts who made this possible. And there's one of them right there. Without them, you wouldn't be here listening to me. Think about that. All right. Oh. All right, so, tonight, I forgot what I was saying. Tonight is supposed to be our Halloween theme. I am dressed as a San Francisco Unified School teacher. In case you didn't notice.
Cleverly disguised.
I didn't get a chance to put my doctor's stuff on, so.
Yeah. Oh, I've got one. Oh. Well, see, we all got together too.
Yeah, we know. We know it's that.
Anyway, so I think we're set to go. Now, since Jimmy Ireland, so-called because he represents that place, is not here at the moment, we will proceed then to the position number 1 on the reading marquee, as it's called. It's not called that, but I can call it that. And this brings us to Mr. Clyde Always and the infamous Clyde Always Show. Give him a round of applause for kicking off here. No holding back. No
Thanks for
holding
having me,
back.
Dan.
Well, I haven't had you, but we'll talk about that later over.
Pleasure to be. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, come on, step right up, folks. You want to grab yourself a front row seat before the gong? They're going fast. You don't want to miss this. It's time for another exciting installment of the Clyde Always Show. With me, you're always clever, always handsome, always charming, always Clyde Always. And this is the tale of Jimmy the Greek. Our tale is set in my hometown, a town upon a hill, a town as soft as duckling down. It seemed forever still. But I remember when they came, we gawked at them for weeks. We gave to them a fitting name, we called them just the Greeks. They set right up in Village Square and opened up a pub, where Jimmy and his wife, the pair, did run a busy hub. The chow they served was so divine, like not to be believed. Aromas lingered ever fine, and hungers were relieved. Now Jimmy was a friendly man, so kind and smile-faced. His wife so beautiful and tan, she looked my heart erased. And word spread fast about their charms, and people they did swarm. From far-off villages and farms, they set our town a-storm. Now Jimmy kept on cooking up some new and lavish treats. His wife the best at filling cups and turning down the sheets. Behind their pub, there was a wood I knew quite well, a wood I'd walked so all I could to breathe the woody smell. And it was one warm summer night I camped under a tree. I woke to the most frightful sight that I did ever see. I heard some whispers not far off, and saw a bouncing flame. I crept in, careful not to cough, such is the hiding game. A cauldron set and clearing round it belched these screaming squeaks. An unfamiliar woman bound around her danced. The Greeks. Their faces were not like I knew, so haggard and so rashed. Their victim's face was turning blue, their cauldron churned and splashed. And I watched that tender woman fall and crumple to the ground. While the moon shone silver over all, I did not make a sound. The cauldron vanished up in steam, and something else had changed. Their faces did no longer seem all ugly and deranged, and off they went the way they came, all fresh and young and new. I fixed about to do the same when someone said, "Hey, you." I flinched and turned to face them tall, but oh, the man was short, and loud I cried, "What was that all?" And this was his retort. "I waited near 400 years for someone else to see. I watched you watch with boyish tears. Now finally, I'm free. And now you've got a choice to make, oh child, doomed and dear. Your very life is what's at stake, and you've got much to fear. Those things, the monsters that you saw, they're older than the earth. They've fought the good with tooth and claw since dawn of evil's birth. If you, like me, a coward be, you'll wait and wait some more. And when another soul does see you've done your coward's chore. Son, you seem so awfully brash, your chin it's held so high, and all you gotta do is smash a cattail in her eye. And just like that, the guy was gone. His laughter filled the night. I'd have to slay the devil's spawn to set things back to right. And so I trampled up the creek and cut a fuzzy reed and ran to town, though starved and weak, to do my daring deed. And at the inn I caught my wind and let that knocker clack, and stiffly waited there and grinned the reed behind my back. And then the witch, she came at last, and beautiful she was. But oh, my hand it flew so fast and packed her eye with fuzz. "You fool," she cried, and cackled shrill. "You thought you'd knock me flat? If I'm the witch you sought to kill, you shoulda tailed a cat. Your fate had sealed, my strapping lad. Now gaze upon your mug." And I looked at the looking glass she had, then sobbed and hit the rug, and saw my future, cold and bleak and hairy as could be. Her slave I was the Greek, and Jimmy, he was me. Thanks, everybody. That's an original story from New York. That was tune in next time for another episode. Good night.
Kicking it off. Thank you. With the Halloween black theme, we appreciate that. I wish I had the foretaste to do the same. I'm an old person. All right. Now, let me just read the next set. The next five, we got Buford, then Bill, then Owen, then David, then Jim, before Stephanie. So give Buford a round as he comes up here, please.
This is called I'm an Earl. It's 2:52 p.m. knocking onto 3 p.m. as my maternal grandmother used to say, describing her afternoon. My father taking a, quote, long nap after finishing up some clerical work in his bedroom that also served as an office in the back room of our house. Her critical analysis of my father highly developed. This is called The Young Teacher. The young teacher with dark, made-up eyes and long blonde hair with goth mentality perhaps played The Nightmare Before Christmas, Tim Burton's movie about how the pumpkin-headed leader of a Halloween community decided to learn how to transfer his broom riding skills to a sled. Not as good as Santa Claus, who was tied up by community ghouls, then Pumpkinhead's sled almost crashed. The young girl with the greatest attention span among the learning disabled students sat with rapt attention.
Nice. Thank you, Buford. And now Bill before Owen, David, and Jim. Bill? Give a nice move to the flowers for a man who knows whereof he speaks. That's what he told me.
I was lying.
Darn it.
Darn it.
I was lying, he roared.
You
want me to raise that up for you?
No, I'm good. I'm actually not good, but I'm lying again. I did come in Halloween costume.
Yes.
Saints.
Right.
Anybody believes that I'm a saint, that yeah.
Sorry about that. I try to respect people.
But I also brought. I'm going to be in Halloween spirit here for this reading.
Oh, good.
Okay, a few words on death. It's spying on death. Death is the anonymous stranger who stands at every crossroad giving directions to lost travelers. Death is a pebble tossed in a pond, the circle spread, a string tied to the sky, a smile behind the smile, a naked singularity at absolute zero, -1 degree, a flickering street lamp over a deserted street. Death is the cold fusion of time and eternity. Death's business. Death buys high, sells low, but always makes a profit. Addresses the boardroom. Ladies and gentlemen, my message to you is cost efficiency at all costs. Death sings the sweatshop song. Every brad, each staple, each stitch, every bolt and nail and switch is a tiny step upon the trail of tears. A lamentation that is music to my ears. Death whispers in the ears of the rich. more, more. You could be happy if you just had more. Death can count backwards from 7 billion. Death asks you, what is 7 billion minus 1? What is 1 minus 7 billion? What is 1 times 0? What is 7 billion times 0? Death has the keys to the back door of twilight. Death has a bullwhip made of strips of the finest moonless midnight woven in Los Alamos by hands expert at the distillations of darkness. Death has a compass without a hand, an hourglass without any sand, a farm without any land, and an army without a man. Death has a tunnel he dug through the air to connect the cities of here and there. One more.
All right. All right.
I who danced before time began, hold the world in the hollow of my hand. Death strides through spring green meadows and smells the flowers and caresses the grasses and says to tender unfurling leaves, today I came to you, later you will come to me. I who danced before time began, unravel each rope, strand by strand. Death spreads her Maphroditic thighs before the wanton summer and says to virile heat, come into me now and all the mysteries will be revealed. My touch unlocks all locks. I who danced before time began, measure each moment in the life of a man. Death stands in the midst of exploding autumn foliage and says, hello, my little beauties. I said that you would come to me, and now you have. I have been waiting. I who danced before time began, inscribe a name on each grain of sand. Death walks along winter glacier, hand in hand with cold, and says, you are my one true love, stay with me always. Cold replies, soon I leave for a season, but wait, I will always return. I who danced before time began, hold the world in the hollow of my hand, inscribe a name on each grain of sand, measure each moment in the life of a man, unravel each rope strand by strand. I who danced before time began.
Mercifully merciful. Mercy me. Thank you. All right. We have Owen coming up now, then David, then Jim, then Stephanie, then Hal. So we'll give Owen a bit of applause. I want to thank those who have provided us with something of the theme of the evening. I appreciate that. It makes me feel so good.
I'll try to speak up for people who say they can't hear me. Pretty in the rain, so sunshine on like the cats of blue, your eyes cleverly lidded, not like those of all other women, Queen Tanya. Pretty and unnecessarily angry. I wonder at myself enough to keep my soul in check. As I would rule the world, alas, my fair one, my pretty, though not unnecessarily angry as I, thoughtful but happy. The paladins of whim, the daffodils of love, and ah me, she loves me, she loves. As smart as those famous Greeks, those helmeted warriors that jumped out to save Helen, beautiful Helen, from the arms of her fair Paris in his narcissistic abode. To fellow artists, poets, painters, and the like, there is no such thing as a bad poem. I asked the wind for love. I asked the wind for love, turtles and leaves blown, night too black to shine into, to cry into, a shout the moon took to be torn above, an alchemy to tear the wind's might. I asked the wind for love. Black Tuesday, 7 Thursday, the library. Dove cries that reach from the hush. Bright blackness to cry into, a shove from all the other laughing planets. Roll about the Gaelic heavens as they might. As they sight the wind, I ask for love. Swimming like a stray fish, like a mouse held in the light, black I cry into a shove, too many to make I find, robe of blackness and bliss, fires ignite. I ask the wind for love, black I cry into a shove. Barren, chessboard all squired to conquer, to tell us we are cerebral, and nothing to anybody that is too good to be true, to the most boring and desolate night and in our lives as poets and artists. Not too good to be true to the world around us. Of course we are indifferent to rivers, lakes, mountains, beaches, bicycles, revelry. Fast company can be boring and tasteless, and our neighbors can be weird, as if they had come from another world. A world we did not choose and are only too confused and scared to be. To existence, I am here. Maybe I did not have to be here. Four people. Cinnamon and lonely branch carved with snow. Leopard's a metaphor, talk out of season, but sometimes summer is full of sun, and the branches of birds stare as if they are idyllic mortal ghosts. Self saith the ones we possess, all magicians go free to whirl our hearts back to sexual sanity. More the merrier we say that Merry Christmas and New Year's. But I sit here wearily, drinking my beer drearily. The drearier, the sharper, the bright teeth of winter, throwing shadows of the ghost of my late father, the Polonius I know, his apron, the mustachioed bartender. Name your pies and gins. No bills added awry for usury. Confused lightning put inside the solemn pleas. Here's erratic budget thrills, amulet toasted. The skin's horny for humility, macabre cornbread dyed, cast off. Fail-safe Fairfax, UK, quiet. Picnic cannot say no to marbles of marble cacophony. Butter in her shroud shredded, savor safari of torches. LA talk, nowhere hush. Birds seaward soar with their beige wings, blessed skyward, over hill, over dale, trying to stab the lonely dark, trying their herbs on, oh for eyesore. Fatuous faculties that exhibit the rare air of badgers and the like, all stay in tune till plants swing for lack of success, with mermaids and bottles full of cufflinks wrapped around the holy shroud of swan. Idolatry left behind her subtlety of linnets wings, as big soldiers. Strut, strut, strut. wishing they could try Smokey Bear's firehouse on for size. Pace. The library bliss I find on the 5th floor. Do I deserve this wonderful silence until it becomes a metaphor? Metaphors from the mystic, mythic, frigid chant of the strange interludes. Almost something, almost nothing, something to amount to the sound of one hand clapping. Dark, evening paint street, the very shadows pause to become trees that shout the wind, the tunnel we dug to escape, a sour silent surf, contrite the passion, apples we pray for the solemn night of words, the wild witches run about to hope the night never becomes day. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dunkel. David, are you next?
Yeah.
Okay. So after David, we have Jimmy Ireland, because I want to give you a chance to get ready and organized. He was ready to go, so I need to switch up. Jimmy, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Very well, thank you. Good, we're glad to hear that. So, give a round of applause for this young individual here. This is on the web.
Yeah, I just turned 69 2 days ago.
That's my brother's favorite number.
It was a good year.
It used to be a favorite number, but long in the past.
Now, let's see.
You don't know.
So a friend gave me Shalom Auslander's book, Foreskin's Lament, and I had never quite understood this compulsion to write, that it is a curse and a blessing. I had never really thoroughly considered that the God of the Old Testicle was an angry God. The self-life review pulses through me, and I realize it is going to take 2 hours to write down just 15 minutes worth of thought the way it happened that first un-jet-lagged day in Paris, and I don't have 2 hours. I have to go garden for the converted to Judaism woman and tell her I'm raising her rates, which prevents me from exposing all the angry Hasidim nonprofits for pursuing the wrong track because anger is the little death. Yet now I know where this compulsion comes from. In the beginning was the Word, which is the blessing of eternal silence. But I have gladly shunned 5,000 years of predecessors because they were angry enough to nail one foot to the ground and continue to try walking. When my first son died, I remembered Passover and thought, I thought we had an agreement, you reneged. But I had my third eye open, courtesy of Guru Maharaji, and even though he too became a false prophet due to pride, he was far enough down the line that I did glean some spiritual guidance, enough to help myself shuck guilt, Jewish and otherwise, toss out the little death of anger, and recognize it quickly whenever it raises its pointy little head again, and again, and again, and again. For repetition is the Sundance of small minds, which is simply a segue to my grandson. The joy he brings me, the hope, and of course, eternity, simply being one oyster burp on a string of wonderful human pearls stretching back and forth on a big bang pendulum of human artisans crafting the vessel which holds the human conundrum. See? Even 3 pages took 20 minutes. Let's face it. Let me face it. I'm petrified to take the vow of silence and the vow of no pens, pencils, or hot cursors is what I need most now. And then a couple of days ago, I go, Elazar, the Jew Connie, Strawberry Creek Lodge, my neighbor, I love the guy, help him clean up and plants. When I came back with him to clean up in front of his room after doing the elevators in my room, I came with my broom and my dustpan. He said, you want a dustpan? I said, I already have 2. I took a nap, and this is what came out after the nap.
Oh, this is the song, right?
This is the song. Oh, she's my little dustpan. I feed her dirt and dust, 'cause she's the one I trust. I'll be sweeping after the crumbs when bums have stumbled out the door. She's my little dustpan, and I'm her broom, the one who brooms her to clean the room. She's my little dustpan. She picks up grit, always does her bit, never complains as we trip down the lane. And when the day is over, she fits right onto my handle. Snug in the closet together, doesn't need a light bulb or a candle. She's my little dustpan. She's got a certain edge. It's rubber, it's made so she can make the grade. She's my little dustpan. Fill her up with stuff, can never get enough. Receptive to the touch, she's my little dustpan. Empty her and then she's ready once again. A helpful little friend. She's supple, she's grand. She dumps it in the can. She's my little dustpan. She shuffles, she stops for everything you drop. She's my little dustpan. This is for Clyde. A quickie for Clyde.
Give it to me.
The unequivocal, instantaneous, mind-bending, incontrovertible 5-minute solution to life's most pressing problems. Coming up right after the short attention span, unnecessary, mind-numbing, over-the-top, decibel-shattering messages. For you.
From the far reaches of the East Bay. And now we're a change up in the order because Jimmy Ireland is here. How you ready, Jimmy?
I love your Scottish accent.
Well, I try my best. All right, then we have Jim, then Stephanie, then Hal, then Jimmy, but where's the other Jimmy? Yes, you're the keynote.
5 minutes, I just leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is something by somebody else, yes?
No, it's not. This is 2.2. This is
Oh, wait a minute, hold on.
Wait a minute, you can read on your open mic too. As well
okay.
as the-
Try that. The plug came undone.
This is that was the closed mic. This
No,
now is
the keynote is where you read somebody else's.
And then you play when you.
And then later on, you can read your own.
the keynote has to be somebody else's work.
Yes, it should be.
Well, I suffer from schizophrenia. How does
I have a book if you want to look at it and come back and read it.
No.
Can I read your own? No?
Why don't you read your
We'll
own,
make an
then we'll figure out something else later, because you're here. Go. Okay. Because it's confusing, because keynote gets to do golf clubs.
You just reverse them.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so I'm
Give her a
very
round of
sorry.
applause.
I don't normally read from this technology, so it's my girlfriend's iPad.
Oh, is it her fault then?
So yeah, it's all her fault. Anyway, this is called Frogs Don't Cry, and it's penned by myself. So I'm sorry I couldn't bring something else. There was a few birthdays last week, Sylvia Plath and Dylan Thomas. I was actually thinking, but anyway, so Frogs Don't Cry. Anytime he thought about it, Daniel had always felt as if he'd been given life without the manual. From his earliest memories, he wondered what was going on around him. It wasn't until he got older that he could give such a predicament a name: existential crisis. A digger, maneuvered by a man with a bald head and a cigarette in his mouth, was clearing away the straw in the corner of the back garden. He was a frail-looking man, perhaps in his mid-60s. He was slightly stooped from years of disturbing the earth. An area was being prepared for a new shed. Daniel roamed around in excitement, observing the work in progress. There was the occasional cry from the hydraulic machine, which yearned from some lubricant. Puffs of smoke emanated from both the machine and the man operating it. It was almost like they were part of the same breathing apparatus. There was a discontinuing crackle from the digger, and Daniel turned to see what was happening. A quietness fell over the garden as the angry machine entered into a serene state of slumber. Daniel heard the swallows again, chirping and getting on with their duties. Upon disembarking, the driver stood on his cigarette, which he had strategically dropped to extinguish it upon disembarking the machine. He ambled down the driveway and the gate. Upon exiting the property, he spat into the foot of a hedge, wiped his brow, and went on his way. It was lunchtime. Daniel saw movement in the scrawl. His eyes were transfixed on the darts of motion. What's happening here? He thought. A frog jumped out, landed, had a momentary glance, then leaped again. Daniel looked on as more frogs revealed themselves into the afternoon sunshine. Daniel cried, "Frogs!" threw his hands in the air and made a dash for the house. He returned to the scene armed with a hurley. He prodded around in the scrawl for a moment before spotting a beady-eyed frog staring up at him in amazement. The frog attempted to jump, but Daniel used the head of his hurley to suppress the frog's suspension. The boy quickly readjusted his stance, flicked the frog into the air and swung his hurley, smashing the amphibian off the head of his stick. Blood was splattered across the top of the hurley, and Daniel grimaced in slight revulsion. However, this disgust was short-lived as he focused his attention on movement at his feet. "More frogs!" he wailed. He repeated the same act twice more before filing away, confused. After retreating to his safe place at the opposite corner of the garden, he looked out over the fence and watched the cows peacefully chewing grass. He glanced over to the site where he had just executed 3 frogs. His hurley lay on the grass with the blood-stained side face downwards. The adrenaline from the slaughter had not yet worn off, but the intense trembling had thankfully dissipated. He sat down on piles of roof tiles which were stacked against the side of the neighbour's shed. A row of evergreen trees kept him out of sight from anyone in the house who might look out into the back garden. This was his hiding place. He feared his mother calling him in for lunch, although he knew the time was coming. A cow gracefully emerged from the back of the shed and gave him a quizzical glance. Daniel was startled, and he felt like the cow knew what he'd done, as if word had got out in the animal kingdom.
Okay.
Next paragraph. Daniel never felt at peace in the town where he grew up. For the most part, he knew that the town could have been anywhere on the planet. He had an inkling that contentment was an inside job, but was still, however, too young to fully understand this concept. He was introduced to competitive sport by his father at a young age. He liked the buzz he got from contact sport, and the physicality appealed to him a great deal. He relished the opportunity to exert his discontent and hatred at others under the guise of sport. It was not long before Daniel enjoyed the roars of encouragement from his father, Peter O'Neill. Bricklayer by trade, Daniel's father had to leave Ireland in the 1960s to work in England, and you'll have to buy the book to find out what happened.
Ah, thank you so much. Jimmy Ireland, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. All right. And then if you want to later on, if you find something by somebody else, then we can put you back on and do it that way, yes. Okay. Oh, I got to do this next. Oh, Jim. Jim Fitch, come on up here, please. Give him a nice round of applause. Haven't seen you in a while. We're ready to go. He died of beauty for you.
You want the microphone?
There we go. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
It's a lovely thing we do here. I enjoy it. And there's somebody who makes it very special. Dinner with Wendy and Susan Sontag. I sit alone at midnight, the dishes in the sink, the wine in my veins. And what portrait can we now paint by moonlight? I've never been but a lover. I've never seen the light you work by. I've never seen your shadow. Yes, I've been aware of it. But in this time we see the spirit of that love. As we grow to forget the 20th century, whose light does illuminate that spirit? Cast now by the moon amongst the caliph's orchards, I did first see love. It then traveled and lived without the benefit of a shadow. Love, naked to all, for without a shadow it could not reflect. and light from our sun does love shadows a needed thing for its contrast, passed right through it. Naked, it cast nor reflected Miss Sontag. So looking for peaches, I found Ms. Brown. Chinese peaches, Chinese white peaches, to our wonderment. Where the white Chinese peaches did first ripen in that moonlight, the last moon of August, the 1st of September, so like curdling cure, my blood will never be the same. 15 to 19, 19 to 21, oh, and 28 too. As the juice from that white peach runs, 19 to 15, sweet crescents calling to winter, so dunes at night, shadows ripe, cast by peaches memory. Chins, kisses, peach juice. Oh, Wendy, where has Miss Sontag gone to? Can passion ever forsake me? Will the memories of the orchard ever burn to remind me of where my heart was born? Winter solstice. I came ashore, it was winter solstice. The winter light quickly became a dark night, so again we start the new year with the longest night. The night is a good measure. Our souls call for light, our reasons work in it. The measure of our lives is days, lit by light, yet winter is the prince of souls. Darkness is its sword. Long nights where souls are tried, bundled against the night's cold. So it is. Mama in her kerchief and me and my cat have come to delight in winter's mischief. What mystery holds the wine-dark sea? What beauty yet discovered? Am I charmed now by, like Jason's crew? Yes, a siren song. A siren song now calling again the measure of the sea. It is as it was, yet we ply it still. Its wine-dark waters, so amphoras of ancient wine do wash ashore. Do you wish for me to slake the mountain's thirst? A view from that peak is all that I wish anymore. Amphora is empty at the mountain's top, dreaming of that wine-dark sea.
Good, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you again. All right. Stephanie, then Hal, then Jimmy, then DBs, before Richard, and Mark, and Joseph. So give Stephanie a nice recognition here. Thank you to our stage hand. We appreciate that. He's so good. You should hire him.
So I'm going to read two poems, one by me and then one by somebody else. This is called Vampires with Microphones. When spooks come out, without a doubt, whether Republican or Democrat, they pat their money belts so fat and speechify among the people hollow words that sound so feeble, haunting all the airwaves plenty, attacking their enemies 1 in 20, making promises they will break as millionaires with much at stake. These spooks terrify their own grandmothers, though they treat us all like brothers. It's all fascia, facade, finesse, including their fancy formal dress. Real-world problems truly frightening in the land of drought and lightning. Vampire speech, vampire ways, high-tech workers riding waves, waves that threaten to wash poets out. Vampires eat, vampires shout, slowly back away, don't turn, no matter how much money you can earn. 'Cause when the masks come off at midnight, witches, goblins, gnomes get stage fright. The true vampires stand before us, threatening to gouge and gore us, cutting programs, Medicare, killing immigrants filled with fear. Money to rich pockets goes, homeless suffer, frozen toes. Trump's coming to get you soon. Skyrocket your rent up to the moon and send you off to live in Maine, Nashville, St. Louis, Arkansas, or Spain. Anywhere you want, just not here, or any place considered near. We poets chirp like birds in trees, arguing when's best to leave. But leave birds must, and so will we, when rich vampires come for tea. They'll eat our brains and dig for more. There is no limit to the gore. So quick, go hide and don't come out till Halloween's past, without a doubt. And when the coast is very clear, vote your conscience one more year. And here's another one from Macbeth. Round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw, toad that under cold stone days and nights hath 31, sweltered venom sleeping got, boil thou first in the charmed pot, double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble, fillet of a finny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake, eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and blindworm's sting, lizard's leg and howlet's wing, for a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth boil and bubble, double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble, scale of dragon, tooth of wolf, witch's mummy, maw and gulf, of the ravened salt sea shark, root of hemlock digged in the dark, liver of blaspheming Jew, gall of goat and slips of yew, slivered in the moon's eclipse, nose of Turk and Tartar's lips, finger of birth strangled babe, ditch delivered by a drabe, make the gruel thick and slab, add thereto a tiger's cauldron for the ingredients of our cauldron, double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble, double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble.
You know, I've seen the film, I've heard the play, but I've never had a chance to really hear each phrase come out.
Macbeth is great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's George W.'s favorite book. All right. A special Halloween special here. Mr. Hal Robbins is going to present something we all know and appreciate well. Then we have Jimmy DeGees, Richard Martin, and Aloysius Valtazel Handerbach before our feature, Aaron Woodman.
The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once, upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, as I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as if someone gently rapping at my chamber door. 'Tis some visitor, I murmured, rapping at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly had I sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain filled me with fantastic terrors never dreamed before, so that now to still the beating of my heart I stood repeating, 'tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more. Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. Sir, said I, or Madam, your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so softly you came rapping, and so gently you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting. Dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before, but the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore. This I whispered, and the echo murmured back the word, Lenore. Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard the tapping, somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, from the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ancient, grim, and ghastly raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Then the bird said, Nevermore. Startled by the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, got from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the melancholy dirges of his hopes the burden bore of never, nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he would outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Startled by the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken. Well, I guess I did that. Let's see. I must have repeated that verse anyway. But the raven, still beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. There upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, gaunt, and ghastly, ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat, declining as I took my ease, reclining on the cushion's velvet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er, but whose violet velvet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfume from an unseen censer swung by seraphim, whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee respite, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget the lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted. Tell me, truly, I implore, tell me, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me truly, I implore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by that heaven which bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hast spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust from off my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming casts his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore.
How often do we hear that? Thank you so much. Hal Robbins. Thank you. All right. Jimmy, then DBs, then Richard, then...
Not since high school.
Martin Joseph,
Yes.
for Karen, our
Lot of
teacher.
fun.
Thank you so much. Are you ready?
Oh, this is the Uber list, or things I'd hate to love. Carry-ons, bags, or habits. Plastic bags, people who argue about bumper scratches. The U.S. Navy, world's largest polluter. Uber. Bus drivers who think a bus is a race car. Coal, Coca-Cola, plastic. Uber. Genetic engineering, genetic engineers. Egocentric dorks, sluts, jocks, and cops. Models, who cares? Dumb strippers, Uber. War, drones, machine guns, antibiotics for cows. If your cow is infected, burn it. War, drones, machine guns, and SUVs, Uberalas. Zionism, reverse holocausts, austerity, the audacity of austerity. Uber, Uberalis, and me, and you, and Uncle Willie, and all the Untermenschen. Uber. Coca-Cola, plastic, potato chips, cigarettes, sugar, corn syrup, salt, plastic, toothpicks, stinks, ranks, sinkholes. Uber. Cancer causes unknown. Duh. Heart attacks. Duh. Independent contractors and private armies, too. Security guards, teams and rules. Kickboxing, action movies, Obamacare, big pharma, big farms, capital gains, fake discounts, slave labor. Uber, the corporal pig with zero assets. Useless eaters, homeless, angst, sheeple, fascists, fascism, self-absorbed yuppie punks, cell phones, narcissists, dead zones of deltas, dead zones in rivers, dead zones in soil, dead zones off of Chile, the dead zone China Sea, the dead zone Pacific Gyre, dead zone in brains, war zones for children, made up wars, made up enemies, made up budgets for made up endless, goalless, made up dead zone wars of no consequence except more dead zones. Fracking, oil on oily water, people who buy aquifers, sinkhole valleys, shrinking snow caps on the maps, people who forget about Al Cap, days with no naps, thank you, angst, stress, PTSD, running until you die. Sharks, lending, banks, robbing, vulture capitalists, picking the litters. Privatization via campaign donation, police, tanks, drones, scones, payday loans, and low rations. Grainy bombers, school bombers, hospital bombers, wars of attrition, wars of nutrition, wars of volition, wars by one man's decision, wars with no mission, pesticide bread with pesticide honey and herbicide bacon, with BHT and toxic flax and Agent Orange oranges, and undepleted uranium sandstorms bringing Chinese silicosis to Seattle. Uber. Plastic, Coca-Cola, and give me a square, with jazz in the elevators and blues on the street. Huge buildings empty all night. Blue angels give me a fright. City streets with too much light, and so they got daylight all night, and we get sick of it. Black lives that don't matter, except to who's gonna clean up the splatter. The loss of songbirds and all their chatter, as if poisoning all of the insects don't matter. Landlords with old school self-serving blather. That's blather. Republicans and social strata. La mordida and grease and synonyms for other forms of bakshish. Too many rules that were meant to be broken. Not enough words that really have to be spoken. Sometimes I feel like my life is a token to be spent searching for truth amid all the promises broken, until I want to sink to the deep end and give my hot head a good soaking. Could I get out of here and just go potent? Some kind of acid reflex my stomach's been coating, from the glyphosate, the nicotinoids, and the Corexit. The whole world, it be croaking. Oh joy, of the peeps I've been coaxing, telling me Fukushima is fine. It ain't even molten. Oh joy, Uber. Post ipso crypto. When money can brag, it can pay half the poor to kill the other half. Then it can do it again, and again, and again. All the more easier as sheep get used to it, and again, until money is equal to the rest of us, killers left. 1% to 1% even up. They can say they never lifted a finger. It was all us that done it. What will they do then, when only 2% of today's population is left? Will that still be too many for them?
Jimmy Banks.
Wow, what an evening. I can't believe it. If I wasn't here, I wouldn't. Maybe I would. So I'm your host. I'm going to put my eyes on. So in keeping with a Halloween theme here, I have one piece that really, I was looking for something else and I found this instead. And then I have this other piece that's not by me. And then my Encyclopedia Britannica. This is called The End of Day. Nearby this window is wide open as the lowering colors of the sky silhouette a distant line of trees. The cool settling air is drawn in. Dusky, gentle wafts in its dark currents are carried all the night is. The aroma of farm and field, newly turned earth, mown hay, the blossoms and pollen dispersed by the million billion plants of this far, wide, and green valley. It is the sighing daily breath brought on by the grand shadow, swiftly, silently sweeping over all. Later, after the warm colors chill, the dark, the heavy air's incense carries more. The drifting dandelion tumbling unseen in air, the scurry of furtive life under fallen hay, and the moist soil with its denizen worms. In woodlots, motioning limbs occlude silent stars, an owl feather falls. The unseen myriads of the air hum and zing, and the shadowy waters slip over dark, cold, mossy stones. A distant train, a cat's eyes shimmer. Dew forms on the tangy metal of still machines. Yes, this air is ancient, and something inveigle in its silence as each wan draft brings more than expected. For the earth's breath goes whither it may, over hill and dale, sleek along a night bird's moonlit wing, swirling idle papers along a small town's cooling sidewalks, the whispers of strollers, strands of perfume, dinners, and fresh pie. On such a breeze I travel while sitting perfectly still, near a window through which languid night air haunts, bringing inside the messengers the vast night would rather keep outside, traveling our world and the night over. Thank you. This poem is not by me, it's by Francis Miles Finch, who lived between 1827 and 1907, and it apparently is his signature poem. It came to me through a series of events which are relatively relevant, but be a long story, and why do that? The poem speaks for itself. It was written by him after the Civil War, when he found out about a group of individuals, women in the South, who had a practice of placing honorary bouquets on the graves of any soldier that they happened to know of or find or whatever. So they were decorating both the North and the South. And he was moved by that to write this. By the flow of the inland river, whence the fleets of iron have fled, where the blades of the grave grass quiver, asleep are the ranks of the dead. Under the sod and the dew, waiting the judgment day, under the one, the blue, under the other, the gray. These in the ropings of glory, those in the gloom of defeat, all with the battle blood gory in the dusk of eternity meet. Under the sod and the dew, waiting the judgment day, under the laurel, the blue, under the willow, the gray. From the silence of sorrowful hours, the desolate mourners go, lovingly laden with flowers, alike for the friend and the foe. Under the sod and the dew, waiting the judgment day, under the roses, the blue, under the lilies, the gray. So with equal splendor the morning sun rays fall, with a touch of impartiality tender on the blossoms blooming for all, under the sod and the dew, waiting the judgment day, broidered with gold the blue, mellowed with gold the gray. So when the summer calleth on forests and field of green, with an equal murmur falleth the cooling drip of the rain, under the sod and the dew, waiting the judgment day, wet with the rain, the blue, wet with the rain, the gray. Sadly, but not with upbraiding, the generous deed was done. In the storm of the years that are fading, no braver battle was won. Under the sod and the dew, waiting the judgment day, under the blossoms the blue, under garlands the gray. No more shall war cries sever, or the winding rivers be red. They banish our anger forever, when they laurel the graves of our dead. Under the sod and the dew, waiting the judgment day, love and tears for the blue, tears and love for the gray. Thank you.
Now we approach the next individual, Mr. Richard Sanderell, whose gentle ministrations are known far and wide as gentle administrative. Give him a nice round of applause.
Anybody wants to come up to me afterwards and tell me what that was, what he said, and explain it to me, then
What did I just say?
We don't understand it.
Well, I don't want to ask.
Just don't go on about it, that's all I say. Thank you so much for that.
No. Old people, we always have these flashes. So I like that.
Whoa! Sorry, I had a flash. Oh, not that kind of flash, I'm sorry.
Oh, that kind of flash.
Okay.
All right, I have two new ones, but I may read one and one I read last week. This is called Crawling King Snake and the Weather. Crawling King, amidst the global warming thing, gives him more places to hang out outside his lair. The problem is so are the two-legged. He also noticed his old friend Coyote and his clans are moving in as well. Crawlin always enjoys Coyote's company and his love for the blues. Coyote plays guitar, Snake plays shakers and harmonica. Coyote likes to get down with Crawlin and roll in the dirt as they play. They also have a great love for African drums and just about any form of Latin music, as well as the heartbeat of the First Nations drums, northern and southern style. Snake also finds out in the early evening Snake also finds himself out in the early evening without having to wear his robe. Just too warm. There are times when Snake has his sunglasses on and people mistake him for Keith Richards dressed in his snakeskin finest. Crawlin would rather they mistake him for Bo Diddley. Coyote and Snake know roadrunners just like Bo. The weather business continues to change, and the King and the Coyote know the native people are watching the flora and the fauna, waiting to see the exodus and who goes underground, the signal that they should do the same. Crawlin King Snake and the Coyote are ready to go, but they're staying for a little longer. Though the time grows short, they stay above to enjoy the warm weather. They know most of the two-legged are not ready for the underground. They will be missed by Crawlin and the Coyote, because the two-legged always brought comic relief for their half-baked ways and in the irony of it all. They both know this is the end of the fifth world, so soon the underground movement will truly begin again. I read this last week, and the reason I'm reading it this week because I think it's important. They keep telling us that poets and the artists always move into the poor areas that eventually follow with the rich people coming in and buying it out. Well, we're at the end of that in San Francisco. There is no cheap place. So my question is where are the poets and the people, the artists, going to go? I think the only place left is Fresno and Stockton. And is that what we want? So I'm writing this. The king in his lair. The Crawling King rests in his lair, curled up in a computer using his tail to type. He tires of internet play. Too much energy expended on useless information. The last story on Yahoo News is about people showing their butt cheeks. That just makes Snake flick his tongue and roll on the floor with laughter. These two-legged seem to be progressing somewhere, but the king is not sure where. The king used to enjoy a good night out of going to cafes, wears his sunglasses, listens to a good night of poetry, prose, rants, uses a shaker to help in his tail to shake in approval. Now he finds poets replaced by tech heads talking shop. Their ability to carry on a normal conversation outside their tech world can get very strange. Poets know their age and are not being replaced by the younger who can't, well, you know the story. Those who live here left no longer able to make it. They say goodbye to a place they love, and more is lost. Another dispossessing that began in 1492 with the attempted annihilation of the people. At the 50th celebration since that summer, will there be a death watch for poets and poetry in San Francisco? Or will it be like a Fellini movie, Satyricon, in Rome, where poets and their poems sell out and are controlled by the rich? Poetry sold to the highest buyer. Control their soul that leads to the death of writing. In the end, it is not poetry or even good prose. Though good poetry and prose lives, who will listen? Uson's empire follows its ancestor Rome by example. The Crawling King Snake is concerned. Even the blues is under attack. Articles written that the blues played today are no longer classified as blues but pop, alternative. Some blues artists stop using the term blues. Life without the blues and poetry. Snake knows something needs to be done. The blues is the motherlode of one of the few good things that came out of the empire. The music can't die. It's the source. The king scratches his head, flicks his tongue, slithers back and forth. That's it. We'll begin to organize the Death Watch starting before the next big celebration. Street theater that cries out the warning that the end is near. Will these places and people who exercise their rights to speak have a place to do so? Take the writers, poets, musicians, actors, and all the arts to the streets. Then ask once they see it, will they miss it if it dies? Crolin knows that they can't miss what they don't know they have. As Crolin Kingsneck says, we are, my babies, at the crossroads. Crawling slips back into his lair and makes plans. So that's my message to everyone. My message is, although most of us are the elders, and I'm glad to see there's some youth here, and women, that we start talking to each other. I mean, it may be useless, I don't know. Like I said, where the hell are we going to go? And talk to each other. Talk to the younger poets, to the younger musicians. Talk to the homeless. Talk to all the people that are doing the same things, that are being screwed by the same people. And if we start, I always keep saying, remember solidarity. I wonder if you can.
Yeah. All right, thank you. All right.
Another word to remember.
I do remember.
Well, there's another word to be
But I heard
remembered.
the underpass at 101 and Army Street
Guillotine.
going for like $100 a square foot.
What's that?
Don't listen to me. Now Martin Joseph is going to come up and deliver us of his mind and perceptions. After that we have our feature, and I know we have some new people in the house, so my message to them at this point is, if you wanted to be on the open mic or would like to be, after the break there's time to sign up because we have space for that, so just to let you know. I'll do a couple of announcements after that, and like that, so it should be pretty simple. Are you ready, my dear? Yes. He is ready. Give him a nice hold on. There you go.
Good evening, Sacred Grounds.
Good evening, Mark and Dawson.
1916, one of the biggest activities was throwing waves of young men to run towards German machine guns and get mowed down. In the British Army, there was a high disproportion of deaths of Irish soldiers who'd been conscripted over those of the English soldiers. And this generated a great deal of resentment, part of which resulted in the uprising of 1916. These are two songs from that era. One is called The British Army. When I was young, I used to be as fine a man as ever you'd see. To the Prince of Wales, he said to me, come and join the British Army. Tooraloo, they're looking for monkeys up at the zoo. And says I, if I had a face like you, I'd join the British Army. Sarah Congdon break the cake, 'twas all for poor old Slattery's sake. She threw herself into a lake, pretending she was Barbie. Tooraloo, they're looking for monkeys up at the zoo. And says I, if I had a face like you, I'd join the British Army. Corporal Daly went away, his wife got in the family way, and the only thing that she could say was, blame the British Army. Tooraloo, they're looking for monkeys up at the zoo. And says I, if I had a face like you, I'd join the British Army. Corporal Kelly's a terrible draught, just give him a couple of jars of stout and he'll beat the enemy with his mouth and save the British Army. Tooraloo, they're looking for monkeys up at the zoo. And says I, if I had a face like you, I'd join the British Army. Kilted soldiers wear no drawers, won't you kindly lend them yours? The rich must always help the poor to save the British Army. Tooraloo, they're looking for monkeys up at the zoo. And says I, if I had a face like you, I'd join the British Army. When I was young, I used to be as fine a man as ever you'd see. To the Prince of Wales, he said to me, come and join the British Army. Tooraloo, they're looking for monkeys up at the zoo. And says I, if I had a face like you, I'd join the British Army.
Yeah.
That was traditional, has many different variations, but this one was written by J.K. Casey. It's called By the Rising of the Moon. And come and tell me, Sean O'Farrell, tell me why you harry so. 'Tis hush and listen to his cheeks were all aglow. I bore orders from the captain, get you ready quick and soon, for the pikes must be together by the rising of the moon. By the rising of the moon, by the rising of the moon, the pikes must be together by the rising of the moon. And come tell me, Sean O'Farrell, where the gathering is to be at the old spot by the river quite well known to you and me. One more word for signal token, whistle out the marching tune with your pike upon your shoulder by the rising of the moon. By the rising of the moon, by the rising of the moon, with your pike upon your shoulder by the rising of the moon. Out from many a mud wall cabin, eyes were watching through the night. Many a manly heart was beating for the blessed warning light. Murmurs rang along the valleys to the banshee's lonely croon, and 1,000 pikes were flashing by the rising. By the rising of the moon. By the rising of the moon, and 1,000 pikes were flashing by the rising of the moon. All along that singing river, that black mass of men was seen. High above their shining weapons flew their own beloved green. Death to every foe and traitor, whistle out the marching tune and hurry, me boys, for freedom. This is the rising. This is the rising of the moon. This is the rising of the moon. And hurry, me boys, for freedom. This is the rising.
All right. Thank you so much, Martin.
And the others who have come before, and the others who will come since. Eternity knows no bounds, nor does the ego. I shouldn't speak like that. So this is one of my favorite parts of the evening, where I get to brag on someone whose presence here has made a difference in the lives of others and myself and this place. Karen is our feature. This is an individual who speaks with merit. Her heart comes through the words that she places on paper, and when she brings those to voice, they reach into the hearts of those listening, and there's a change. Now, sometimes you laugh. Sometimes you say, oh my God. Sometimes you might have a tear go by, or sometimes you think, I've been there, or ooh. But it's always something different, always something new, always something pleasurable, always something interesting. And she has a wide range of how she presents things. I mean, I have no idea what she's going to present to us this evening, but I know it'll be variable, it'll be interesting, fascinating, and we'll learn a little bit about herself. We'll learn a little bit about us. Karen Elizabeth Hunt, come on up here and I'll set this up.
I thought I was going to need a ladder.
Oh, no. You have me.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Next question to 11.
Good. Oh, sorry.
I thought I had you.
Well, you have the mic.
Okay. Mike. Yeah, David came when I was 13, I think. Tied out. Desiccated hydrozoa, Lido Beach, like empty condoms, worn out summer dreams. Driving north on Sunset, soft fog at bottom of hill. Where do we go when the road has disappeared?
See what I mean?
So, if you've ever been on one of those slow trains through the Transbay Tunnel, there's not a lot to do except read all those signs. So this is called Emergency Instructions, the Bay Area Rapid Transit Guide to Life. Look, Look, be aware of your travel environment. You are hurtling through space at impossible speeds, spinning around a G-class yellow star, spinning around a spiral, spinning around the center of a great galactic web. Celestial navigation is embedded in your DNA. You're getting off at Powell Street. Don't forget your briefcase. Listen. Listen. Follow directions in an emergency. Even though people are known to give directions, whether or not they possess knowledge of the destination. Your directions are, turn left on Market. No, wait. Purchase flowers for your lover from the kind man with Mediterranean eyes before leaving the station. What? You have no lover? Give them to the first stranger whose laughter astounds you. Respond. Respond, report, or act upon unsafe conditions. Like the young Chicano sitting on his lunchbox, whose angel face tells you his name is Raphael, whose whole lace sweatshirt conveys his welder's trade, whose 3-year-old daughter is the hope of the world, who smiles, even knowing life is always an unsafe condition. Leave bicycle behind. Leave bicycle behind. It will not follow you, or whine like a dog chained outside the pub. But what will they think when they excavate this tunnel beneath the bay? 500 years from now, watch sea bass swimming between the spokes. Fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers are located at the end of each car. Kick in plastic door to remove. Tell me, Sensei, what is appropriate here? Side kick? Wheel kick? Jump kick? One cannot target the fracture point. Plastic has no soul. Be one with the train, it will tell you. Yet the wise must ask why such an important thing is not more simply accessible. Do they expect to have a master on every train? Some new stuff. Petrichor. Smell of earth after rain. A luscious thing. Sacred. Fecund. Muddy. You must carry it between your lips as you seek chanterelles 3 weeks post-deluge. For they will remember and show themselves only if you do. Then, once when we were young and tangled up in iambic pentameter, we stayed up all night listening to Flood play endless variations on his EAB7 blues. Ate apple pie with lemon juice and strong black coffee for breakfast. Stumbled to the shore. Spent a morning tossing hundreds of red octopuses, no bigger than your thumb, back into the sea, believing they would live, believing we would change the world. One chord, one poem, one octopus at a time, until one was enough. Shorter days. In this season, unseen hands drop a cloak of translucent clouds over the Queen's shoulders as she proceeds down the hill lined with trolley rails and incoherent election signs to the edge of the sea, where she wraps her fog cloak more tightly for comfort, bites her lower lip in concentration, or because he once said it looked innocent and sexy, or because she hopes the sharp edge of omnivorous teeth will awaken those impulses she has misplaced, the ones that caused her to seek refuge in foreign lands, dance drenched in the joy of thunderstorms, bring stray kittens home, and now she removes her right shoe without bending, uses the left to pull the heel down, touches a toe tentatively to late November's icy surf, wades out to the wind line, dives once, and again, breaks the surface with a fish in her mouth, laughing, laughing, laughing. Before the light. Sometimes, when daylight lingers not so far from our window, your dreams awaken me with the scent of the Southern Ocean after rains have passed, when all the gulls are flying sideways. The teak beneath your feet is telling stories of the forest of its birth. The kraken is changing colors just for fun. You whisper, "Stay a while," without waking, and I do. Okay. So, we're approaching Samhain, we're approaching the time that, in the Gaelic tradition, the veils are thin between the worlds. In the traditions of Mexico, it's the Day of the Dead when you ignore those veils. So, this was a different kind of death, and it's called retrieval. She was beautiful. Silk and silver spotted coat, moonstone water droplets beaded in her fur, huge eyes the color of molten chocolate. She could steal your heart, if not for the foaming blood drizzling from her nose and mouth that said, "Yes, this is the fresh carcass we've been asked to retrieve, to gather information that might help decide what's happening with the harbor seals." We haul the corpse across the sand, away from children, draw blood from her heart, are unable to draw urine, make a small incision to measure blubber depth, measure length, girth, flippers. Emily plays with the long nails, trying them against her own, while Josh, with melancholy eyes that look strangely like the seals, places a single shell reverently on her forehead.
They heard that.
Well, I wasn't sure about this one, but it's called Sirens.
Well, there you go.
Fire engines wailing in the rain, like lost feral cats at midnight. Someone's hurting. Yes, someone's been burned. Lost what he thought was home. Dragged out onto cool green grass by an enormous phoenix. Neighbors swear they watched it beat the flames from his chest with crimson wings. Then peck a small bright hole in his heart. Drop something shiny inside. Before the fireman came, did CPR, and was amazed. The man got up and walked away. And a couple of things from the East Bay. Lived in West Oakland for 13 years. It's called Faith. Reverend Laurent's strong voice rises through the clapboard walls of his shabby storefront church, tumbles across 32nd Street, blowing a candy wrapper from the gutter, ruffling the feathers of pigeons who are eating my leftover toast. His voice rises above Cecil's boombox, climbs the side of our building, bursts through my closed kitchen window on this Sunday afternoon, with a warrior's cry, "I believe." And this was a birthday poem for my friend Mark Stapes, who some of you may have known from his space stuff. He's in North Carolina now, I believe.
Yeah, North Carolina.
It's called Doggin'. No reason for this compulsion to go walking, reaching near intoxication, gulping down colors, patterns, architecture, graphics, neon scraps of conversation, a couple chords of music from a passing car, people smiling, people rushing, raggy people, people who are works of art, or slowly swimming through the solitude of pine needles, olfactory soup of wet fur, who's hiding in the brush, squirrel, rabbit, bear, mint, redwood bug, rhododendron, fern, glimpse of feather, calls and croakings, rushing water, whippersnaps of twigs, no purpose, no goal, yet is necessary for life, as a canine's urge to sniff the world. And this was from a time when the Bay Area Poets Coalition used to meet at the Berkeley Library. The library closed for renovations, and we ended up for a lot of weeks on Maggie Meyer's front lawn. We write, solitary creatures of stolen moments, midnight hauntings disguised as inspiration, to protect our dignity, waiting, hoping for that faint scritching of some vocalizing corvine at our window or chamber door. For we who long but do not need still the company of poets.
You're here for Maggie.
Yeah, she's great. This was for a friend who was a very successful artist, came from a very traditional transplanted Okie family in the Central Valley, who kept wondering when he was going to get a real job. It's called perspective. He loves the way light plays on parched September fields, chases it for weeks, brushes, easel, oils, leaving little room for food in battered pack, stopping only to refill his yard sale canteen when salt taste of his own sweat reminds him to thirst for more than color fleeing, until shadow falls just right, transforming dead brown grass to golden hills for another masterpiece to hang in some gallery in Santa Barbara, where the surf beat fibrillates all dormant things to life, and homeless men are so upscale they leave their sleeping bags unlocked.
Those papers might fall when you tap them. Yeah.
Okay.
I just didn't want you to be distracted.
Figures. Trout fishing in America. I am reading Trout Fishing in America by moonlight, because that is the only way you can read Richard Brautigan's poems that he insists upon calling novels. They make no sense at all in sunlight, and under fluorescent bulbs have been known to deconstruct, occasionally causing severe burns on the hands and mild but unrepairable damage to the cerebellum. Snapshot. She stands barefoot amid the broken glass. Tears have dried, leaving rivulets through her foundation, like mud strokes made by a flash flood in the arroyo. Her mind is clear and empty now. Fury, pain, and indignation. Only words in a worn-out dictionary. She is inexplicably weary, would lie down if only she could get to the couch. Nothing has changed except the space in the cabinet that held Crystal an hour ago. She cannot even reach the broom, feels this moment in time as her complete biography. "20 degrees north. Naked on a hotel balcony, dancing to the song of raindrops pelting coconut palms, drizzling off tile roofs, sizzling off burnt edges of sheet lightning, running their wet fingers through my storm-tangled hair, alone at 3 in the morning. And I want to thank Hal for The Raven. My mother used to read that to me when I was a very small child before bed. Probably explains a lot.
So didn't I tell you? I told you and you saw and you heard. We're going to take a very brief break. I'm telling the people out there on the little internet thingy and the people here. It'll be about 8 minutes or something like that.
4 quick announcements. Before we do that, one is if you're interested in being in the open mic, there's time after the break. This is a feature that I'm doing with Kurt Lumpkin. It's in Pacifica, but you might be interested. It's this Saturday. The information is there. If you wanted to be on the mailing list, this is where you put your name and email.
You got a gig on Halloween, Dan.
I know. It wasn't my doppelganger did it. And then this is the open mic poetry venues that I know of in the city. They're the ones that are regular, free, calendar on one side, dates and information on the other.
Thank you,
and we'll be back in about 8-10 minutes. Schmooze as you feel appropriate, and I will talk later. And thank you so much for being here.
Dan Brady.
My mother, Nancy, my brother's uncle's cousin's best friend's neighbors, second cousin removed, the best neighbors, second grade teachers, friends, divorced ex-husband. Thank you. And me, and I thank you. Sidewalk tradition. So that means I don't have to quote him. I don't have to. From there.
Really?
Your team was lucky.
Jersey on
Never apologize. Never apologize.
I'm so glad you did. I was wonderful. I really.
Karen actually wrote me about her while she's here.
And also, she's got it was a flashback to my marathon. I wasn't paying attention in high school how great it was this time. So I knew they were teaching me for some reason. All I could remember was you just filled it all in. Now I understand the whole thing.
That's me. I would have had to say that. Good.
As far as a halo.
Okay.
Like that family application.
They said, I said yes. It's 8 or 8, whatever the thing you got time to hand out some candy, which is what I like doing.
Yeah.
Rap famous for candy.
French singer's
I
daughter.
know, so boring.
When I was a kid, what we used to do is we had like a big documentary. We could carve it with the meanest face we could possibly do, and we put a can of stritter on the inside with plain wine. So the kids could put fires inside the bucket, and they would roast marshmallows. We were the hits. And then my sister made the best wish. Having like with a broomstick. It wasn't made out of puppetry stuff and things like that. But we had 1 year we had a switch, hit on the switch, and the idea
Oh my God,
it was really great.
Just off from
It's
just people in this building and they so that neighborhood, they shut down a couple of streets.
Yeah, sort of like. Oh, nice.
So,
slow and straight. Some really good horror.
And party, of course, the grandkids are going to be there. And she had baby this year.
I like movies that take a long time.
And me too,
I mean, we liked Halloween a lot. Then it started, towards the end of my going out, Halloween was like, okay, you're in 8th grade.
So you had your needs, right?
Well, no, I would bring the neighborhood kids. I would go along with them. But it's get a sheet, they're on my head, wrap it around like this, and then put like, something, anything, some kind of mask, whatever, it didn't matter. They said, what are you doing? I don't know. I'm taking care of these kids. And they'd say, no kids. Oh, I like to have that one.
There's another one that went.
Yeah, that's weird stuff.
Yeah, I remember going to
Margaret's real slow too.
like that
Her daddy wants her, she's in high school, her daddy wants her to go out there and go to so she goes downtown to buy a cowboy hat. And she doesn't know what she wants exactly, where to wear her stuff, and then
and the guy comes to the door with a big gun on
he
his
drives
face.
by, and he's wearing a white cowboy hat, and she's just so impressed.
I'm like, so I tried to do it, I'm like, I really
Slow New York traffic.
It's on my ass.
Right, because you have to do a trick, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was the only trick I
See, we
ever
always thought that they had to do the trick, or they trick you or treat you.
And
But anyway, sorry.
kind of like, he was so flattered, he runs out of light, and kills him.
I remember this one house, this is the first, I told everybody.
So she runs screaming.
You go to the door, and the door would open with the sound.
And she feels so guilty. She's 16, and this woman just died because of her distracting
And
driver.
then this,
She's only one.
like, there had to be dry ice.
In a flashback of her psychosis.
And then a flash, and someone came out with like pair of cymbals like this, and someone else came out and with a flash lit up the ghost, with the guy going like this, and then the cymbals going like this, jump out of your shoes,
90 seconds.
and I said, oh, you gotta go, you gotta go. And my brother went there, and he had a little problem with his bottle of punch. So for years after that, we felt very scared the shit out of Charlie.
Charlies are so mean to each other.
It was funny. It was funny. I mean, I didn't know that was going to happen.
But it's hard to know because
Are you happy now?
Happy now. This year's going. Because you're tired. She reminds you of the people in comments.
I know you're one where the guy
Columbia studying in
various Caribbean. Yeah, I like that the artist.
Really Jewish, it didn't ring my bell.
Yeah, and the other one was my concert was.
I'm never going to know. He said, if I
I don't know, outrageous science.
on and on. Well, that's very, very,
What I've been experiencing.
Now I'm living about 8 months.
I miss a lot of stuff, and sometimes I miss your thing and it gets clear. You know,
Yeah, you are really a free
cool.
thinker.
I mean, sometimes I want to hear things that don't.
There's that, but also there's the idea of you being more of a speaker than a listener.
I'm a listener, I'm a hearer.
Yeah.
I'm a listener.
I have very great difficulty listening to everyone there. Really stubbornly fighting.
You should put the Rotary Express in Berkeley on there. It's much easier. It's much easier to hear the quality time of what is spoken to hear. Engaging. You have to hear I like when
Before you
December, right?
December? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll be here, but, yeah. I thought it was January.
December.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be next month, first week, Saturday.
First week, Saturday.
Yeah, okay.
Will I ever sample I see you for November? Well, I'm gonna be there in November.
Are you gonna be here?
Oh, I don't.
Next week, it's really. See, if you come here every Wednesday in November, I'll guarantee you be reminded. Reminding me now is just like when you gave it to me in August. It's still about the same.
That's about as far as I can
And then also, somebody sent the cash reminder.
That was awesome.
Great to send it up.
It's like a 3-part tie. I had some poetry, I had some I was turning it into rap, as you can sort of learn it into a rap.
Right, it was.
If I kind of lost my kids, I had sort of lost my voice.
How are you doing?
Parts were just careless. I wrote it, so I'm not going to That's what I do. I write every time a new one. I don't
I enjoyed it. You got a really intriguing voice. Sometimes I don't understand the words. The New England, the Southern and the New England, sometimes that words just don't cross grounds. Very good.
The odd thing is, I had a speech defect when I was a little girl. And they sent me to a speech therapist. Looks like me completely screwed up.
And I wrote it down. I'll probably go to.
I'm not happy to hear I taught English in Tokyo. And I always thought about those Japanese businessmen going around, hello, y'all.
I managed 6 all the goods. Everybody was wonderful. Boat driving, incredible.
I told everybody that she's going to be here. Oh my God.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could kindly take your seats, or take your seats and put your seats in your seats, or sit down in the seat. Stifle your butt cheek. I just said that for you. What? As my mom used to say, stop it. There were 7 of us, and we had her outnumbered.
7?
Yeah, we had her outnumbered. Poor Dad, he passed away, and then we all, the thing is, we respected her a lot. We respected my mother very much. He made sure we never got caught. Because that would be trouble. Because she would go like this.
Your heart would break.
And that, that was it. You disappointed her. And I would tell Charlie, listen, you could have gotten away with that if you had just done this, this, and this. And he learned pretty well, so he got caught with shoplifting only like 5 times, something like that. And then he learned. And he was so good. Let me just tell you one story. He went into a sporting goods store and he walked out with a bow and arrow. Now,
Steve Martin, are you talking about?
no, my brother. And the way he did it was he went to the bathroom with the bow and arrow and put it down his side like this, under the shirt, under the pants,
And he walked out like this. As if he had a cast on it.
and they didn't notice it. Now, he couldn't hide it in the house because my mother would find it. So since the backyard lawn hadn't been mowed in God knows how long, he wrapped it up in plastic and kept it in the deep weeds at the back of the fence, which is where I found it. And I didn't know whose it was, but I figured it was worth something, so I sold it. And then later on he told me, I had a bow and arrow set. I said, really? What did you do with that? He said, well, I hit it, blah, blah, blah. I go, oh, no, that's a really great place to hide it, Charlie. No one would ever find it there. Want to go get some ice cream? I got some extra money. Oh, it was a wonderful life.
Anyway,
At least you shared some ice cream.
I tell you, living with him and my mom was a lot of fun, except when you don't get in trouble. Anyway, so we have the following people before Delta, who is here as our mini, wonderful Delta. We have Ann, then Al, then Mark, then Garrett, then Kevin, the Lander Lagoon of the Lander Lagoons. So, Ann, why don't you come on up here? We'll give you a nice round of applause and we'll get started with the second half. I have to tell you, the screening might just be good any more times. It probably won't stop, and then we'll have to adjust and make my promises, or break my promises.
1996. This is the time of the homeless men. You and your slick, store-bought suits are ill at ease with the dawn. When there are enough breadcrumbs, even the pigeons share. 2015. And what of the young woman asleep on the bench there on Fillmore between Pine and Bush? Shoeless, her bare legs safe from the streets, the disdainful glare of Madame and her diamond-studded dog. This poem is called Us. We live with each other's death clamped before our eyes. Wanton, we embrace, as if you, eternity, knew nothing of this. And this is called Sometimes You're Handy. I was never part of the Zoom crowd, even before the computer. It's like using an app to get food, when actually it's not the app. It's the scream of the animal or bird, and the blood on one's hands, and working all that messy stuff out. This poem is for Joyce, K.L.'s wife. Outside the cafe, old souls meet. For Joyce. Outside the cafe where old souls meet, the young ones trip into their cafe au lait.
Nice.
Among the silky poets I search. Word rattlers, where are you, who weave your way midst fragments of cloth and line? Far past us you flow, trap our place, like the cloud round the mountain top or fog uncertain who settles a moment, caught between them and the wind that shoots it on.
Thank you, Anne. So what we have now is Al, then Mark, then Garrett, then Karen, then Delta Ahara coming back to the name, thank God. And so Al, come on up here, give a nice round. And of course, the open mic will be followed by the disbursement of these wonderful, fabulous prizes designed, as I like to say, with your mind in mind. Yes? Did you want to? Oh, you have somebody. Huh? You have some. You have somebody for the keynote?
Oh yeah, it's all in here.
Okay, so I can put you on.
Oh, of course.
Okay, let me just do that. There'll be a note.
Quit putting us on here.
Sorry. All right. So there'll be the keynote, then Delta. You and she will be on. Okay. Jimmy. Thank you. All right. Sorry about that. I'm embarrassed that I had to. Yeah.
Several small points. There's a church in Krakow. On its tower, a herald angel is embowered. Like Robin's own, he is sending into distance roulades of his cornet partisans. And in the garden here, by rest, where season apples rest, is laid next to the city's suit, its lies, just like the base for common joking, but growing in the apple's jaws, I'm without this cornet, I'm choking. A sensible and mindful grower that pollinates his rhymes all over. Where sadly the forest slope into the sunset gorgeous, under the white slope, white stones, we found on the white stones the graves of the German soldiers. That country which northward goes to its extent, it is awash in graves of the fallen warriors and those terrible furnace ash. But we were still schoolboys, damn it, and both feeling the itch. We petted on the white granite, meting out our boyish lynch. I've matured, but from this forest, the farther I forced my ways, the more I felt the falseness in the trampling over the grim graves. The autumn leaves of leaves catch as catch can, like crimson forest melting in the varnish. They dazzling like a thief, they ran, and bloody like a coral reef, they vanish, like gold sand in the hourglass, not backing. One more second, and the piece of ice will melt. But let me see, I beg you not to come back here with other guys. Can't enter here with the table stuck and thinking, what bad luck, you miss us. We are leaving all these tall and naked trunks like monuments of our gentle kisses. The Francis of Assisi ate sausages easy, and to Terpsichore to drink was eager, and as far as we are at least close to the saint by law. Which law? I don't know.
Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, recitations from the heart. Now, speaking of things such as the heart, we have Mark Harps coming up here.
Yes.
I haven't seen him in a while. And the hand of Mark Harps. Coming up there, Karen, Jimmy, and Delta, and these fabulous prizes that you distributed.
My time didn't start yet, right?
It started a few minutes ago.
No. This is in tribute to Grace Lee Boggs. We just passed a couple weeks ago. Razor sharp wit. She was nearly 100 years old. Actually, 100 years old. And you don't know who she was. I'm not going to go into who she was here because I might start blubbering, and we can't have that because it's electrifying.
Yeah.
Grace Lee Boggs, B-O-G-G-S. She did a lot for Detroit and their citizens, and for all of us sitting here. And anyway, the dubious dollar dimension of Detroit's dwindling pensions. This would be an invitation to any municipality in the nation to raid each worker's pension to relieve debtors' tension. This morally bankrupt judge says it's okay to take and add the sludge that is damn Detroit. Motown's music mutated into rap when the money got so funny. Clouds of anger clouded the sunny side of the street, along with the smog caught in the great fake fog from the Great Lakes, bilious bog, and every mutated frog under every rotting log began to smell like Magog of prophecies of old. Kids out in the cold, heaven's roads grow mold. The promised land ate my blues band. Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. Morning, fat tire squeals. Where greed goes, girl goofy. Bathtub gin, gangland, and garage guilty, greasy Godzilla. Go fill a tank with gas from a very big bank that we have to thank for not financing working women and men. No, you can't ask to give yet more concessions. I hate to be the one to hear your confessions. Quick, somebody set up or tear down a concession. Yo, San Francisco, attention. Who needs money in a free country? Hey. Me and my landlady, baby. By the way, she and her sisters lived in that house for all their lives, and they bought me this shirt. They had charged me too much rent for a ceiling 2 inches over my head, but I can take a joke. I won't go into anything else right now, maybe later. The legend of a hobo called Ken. Some say started his day with cheap vino, then hopped the nearest freight train to the nearest casino, blowing all his bucks at craps or a keno. Some say he drove an El Camino into a fountain at Caesar's palace. Excuse me while I raise the chalice. To whom Hoboken. If he was such a bum to some, how come they named the New Jersey town after him? Some say he spent most of his time in the pen. Some say he spent most of his time in Zen. Hoboken, if he was such a bum to some, how come they named the New Jersey town after him? Some say that he was just too good. Some say his best friend was a hood. Hoboken, if he was such a bum to some, how come they named the New Jersey town after him? Some say he died finally as a hero. Some say he died just as he lived, a zero. Hoboken, if he was such a bum to some, how come they named the New Jersey town after him? All right, this was kind of long. How much time we got?
About a minute.
I think I can do it. Duality, banality, reality, duality. Demons to duel, dual demons to duel. It's been sent to me like all these poems with a poor man's copyright. I haven't opened the letter. I got them all back. They're also on disc on their way to Library of Congress for what it's worth. Yada yada. Demons to duel. Choke down that gruel, damn all the cruel, nobody's fool. Swords to farmers' tools, new, clear mules. George Bush's stools, grind out golden rule, gladiator school. Densely dirty pool, every worker's had it too tough. When will the greedy have enough? We've got to give and take gently, from oily sea to dirty sea. We've got to be kind to be tough. We all at times respond too gruff to things done or said long ago, too fast or too slow, within or without the flow. We've all got our demons to duel. Who's to say what's enough or too much? Is it up to others to choose such? Simplicity, 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 said H.T. Thoreau long ago. Duality, banality, pseudo-reality, municipality, mock surreal, glockenspiel, Neil Quesadillas sang, Neil Young, Carl will quarrel with the brothers Marx over a barrel, Niagara, Viagra. Skin cancer, chancer in a palace built by Cialis, wild root with Vitalis, Ralph, Trixie, Norton, and Alice Norton, Saul called Morton. Postum Morton, Saul, back to Salem if you got him, smoked down bones, Casey Jones, Tau Chemical, Tau Taos, suits New Mexico, neither new nor nearly clearly, pseudo closed, PSUEDO, sincerely to paraphrase, never nearly, VHD, known as Mo, David, not Imogene or Coca. God bless this message, all the people. You're open pickings, little Virginia Slims, no glove, no OJ, Dr. Strange love, U.S. picking a phony, Jello Biafra, Crank Sumatra, thanks Sahara, Che Guevara, son, scream God, mock you clean, left out of your spleen, gonna make you mean scene just like Mayan Summers. There's Bob Dylan, doubt filling in and killing, BB Trills, till thrilling Stevie's and Steve's uptight for what it's worth. Deja vu all over again. Yogi Bear, hey, boo-boo, smarter than the average. Gigi Ray, Park Stranger, Secret Life of Plants, Robber Barons, Pearl Jam, Marker Harps, Uncle Scam, Sam I Am, Local Band, FM Bland, Mutiny Radio, maybe the best way to go. What do you know? Not much EWE.
Thank you. Yeah. Play so hard.
What's the deal?
All right.
Shabby for an old
Thank you. And now, one of our many special things this evening, we got Garrett Murphy coming on up here, then Karen, then Jimmy, then Delta. Come on up, Garrett. This is a really great poem. Then, like I say, we'll take care of these wonderful...
laureate of, what city? Laureate?
Laureate? Nope.
Not yet, but maybe we ought to get a campaign.
Something
like that. It's got some championship. Maybe we ought to get a campaign going. He's Fremont, I think. What is it? Come on, you want something.
Let him speak. Let him speak.
All right.
The original World War. One bowler comes along, makes a gesture of sorts, says praise to my deity, to the greatest one of all. Another comes along, makes a gesture of sorts, says, "Pray to my deity, 'tis the greatest of all." A third comes along, makes a gesture of sorts, says, "All praise to my deity, 'tis the supreme one of all." A fourth comes along, makes a gesture of sorts, says, "Sing praises to my deity, 'tis the mightiest of all." And all this continues a similar effect. Then all you know what begins to percolate. "What do you mean you're a deity? My deity is the greatest of all." "What sacrilege? Mine is the greatest deity." "You're both wrong. Mine is the omnipotent deity." Says you'll all burn in Hades at the feet of my deity. None of your deities can compare with mine. Blasphemer, sinner, infidel. Needless to say, before too long, a battle evolved with many fronts has occurred. It continues into the nights and days, the weeks, the months, years, decades, and centuries, and so forth, and on, and sadly it continues to this day. And one can't help but surmise to oneself whether countless instances of the continual war, the various deities who have been referred to by the warriors below are shaking their heads with resignation and sympathy as they discuss amongst themselves this well-worn query: what have we done to deserve these for our followers? Nuts in charge. The world is in need of so many a thing. The times they are awaiting their crucial to boot. Our survival as we know it, it's open to question, yet the nuts are in charge of the cookie jar. And the nuts are in charge of the cookie jar. And the nuts are in charge of the cookie jar. And the nuts are in charge of the cookie jar. The bullies have been turned into the heroes of the world. McCarthy has come to us, dissented treason. A crisis has struck him, leadership is sure needed, but the nuts are in charge of the cookie jar. And the nuts are in charge of the cookie jar. And the nuts are in charge of the cookie jar. And the nuts are in charge of the cookie jar. The genocidal maniacs now have a field day. Respondents have because they feel there's nothing left to lose to proclaim them for the victims of the president instead, for the nuts are in charge of the cookie jar. And the nuts are in charge of the cookie jar. And the nuts are in charge of the cookie jar. And the nuts are in charge of the cookie jar. Now, if you see the profilers are licking their chops of all the cartoon and non-Christians on the menu, and you say it's okay to the tenant convenient, then you must be a nut in the cookie jar. Then you must be a nut in the cookie jar. Then you must be a nut in the cookie jar. And you must be a nut in the cookie jar. Halloween Blues. Coming in as a power broker, showing up as domestic or soldier, arriving as a delivery person, be it mail, milk, or plumbing, whatever, a doctor, lawyer, or officer, even in a NATO suit, suit and tie and cap and gown, they think it's a necessary part of living. Not to worry, you only have to wear it 364 days a year.
And now, Karen Melinda Magoo before Jimmy and Elsa closing it out, and these fine prizes of ours being distributed to the minds of those amongst us who have minds.
Distributed to the minds.
Contributed to the
jar.
Okay, okay. Interesting and sadly enough, we have a chance to commemorate something that maybe some of us have forgotten. I only remembered when I saw this poem of mine that tomorrow, October 29th, marks the 3rd year anniversary of Sandy. So, and tonight we have this wonderful moon. So I was devoting all of my poetry tonight to the moon. I kind of get into that, I know, but anyway. If you looked at the moon tonight, you could see why. It's glorious.
It's right over the pizza sign outside the door.
Right over the pizza sign. You got it. Thank you. Sandy struck October 29th, 2012, New Jersey. The moon brought on her highest tides and lined up with the sun and earth. So Sandy spurned at Canada's door, turned scowling to the west. 300 miles an hour and more, she raced across the sea until she piled up on the land and left catastrophe. At least 111 souls were seized by Sandy's might when she struck on New Jersey's shores, October 29th. So I guess this is when I can sing The Lady Sings the Blues. I was going to do that at the end, but anybody who's interested, there is going to be a about 100 women singing different, Lady Sings the Blues solos. I'll be one of them, yes. At the Marine Memorial Theater, the 15th of November or something like that, I'm not sure. The lady sits beside a window looking through. The lady sits and sings a sad small song of blue. And song and window fade to blue. The moon becomes a song of you until it's June. The lady sings the blues. Blue Monday afternoon, blue Tuesday calls the tune. Sing a song for fools who cry, who sit beside a window sky and sing and sing and sing and sing the blues. Straight through the moon, blue afternoon, until it's June, the lady sings the blues.
Really nice.
Moonstuff. Bowling the moon. The moon tonight, totally lit by the sun, is round and full, liquid light filled with sunshine, rolling through the sky, a bowling ball for giants at play, ghost children tossing a liquid bowl slowly through heavenly alleys. The moon high on a fall morning looks omniscient, yet vulnerable, pale against blue, pasted to the curtain of a morning sky. And now for Halloween. Ghostly drums beat under pavement sighs, nightly shadows cast by lamp pole harps, invisible threads vibrate in moonlit streams, while piccolo's gray skies of Rothko hues, footsteps lingering still in quarter rests, mark witches' waltzes, magic 3/4 time. The night howls softly as the owls hold court, deciding who shall fly into the moon. All right. E.E. Cummings wrote a lovely little trio of songs which are very delightful for Halloween, particularly this one, which my brother set to piano and voice, and I'll just do the, obviously, just, anybody have a piano around here? You left it at home.
Wait, I think it's in the trunk.
Oh, we could try that. We're good at fooling around with cars and stuff. I couldn't get the car to go anyway. That's okay. This is, here's to whistle both things, tiptoe, twinkle toe, little twitchy witches and tingling goblins, hob-a-nob, hob-a-nob, little hoppy, happy, toady, tweets, tweets, little twitchy mouses with scuttling eyes, a rustle and run and hide, 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 whiz, whiz, do. Look out for the old woman with a wart on her nose. Look out for the old woman with a wart on her nose. What she'll do to you, nobody knows, for she knows the devil, ooch, the devil, ouch, the devil, ah! The great wing dancing, great wing dancing, great wing dancing, devil, 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 wee. Evening sky, September. Orion faces southward in the eastern sky, bejeweled with ruby Betelgeuse and sparkling regal, viewing a veiled moon who hides demurely in the moving fog, brilliantly illuminated, then lost in passing clouds. Her veil is flung upward and beyond, covering the spires of Saints Peter and Paul and the neighboring Transamerica Pyramid, capturing all but the windows of Lillian Coit's tower, as we imagine a Rapunzel bending over to fling her hair below and gaze above her tower where the hunter is now hid in fog or has vanished, chasing past the fall horizon.
Thank you.
Oh, the E coming.
All right. Thank Thank you, Karen. Give her a nice round. And now, Jimmy from Delta, then our closing circle of love.
Jimmy Ireland.
Jimmy Ireland, as so called. Keep it that way.
Ireland, big order.
Don't say that.
I don't know if you say that or not. Good play is a nice Scottish accent.
Skål. They didn't ask us to dig it down. They told us to dig it down, so we all got together and we said, no, we won't dig it down. That's the Scottish accent. Now this is the Irish accent, as it is. So anyway, I'm gonna recite a couple of poems by Dylan Thomas. Can't remember, he died when he was like 43. He did an infamous tour of the United States here, and I think he popularized poetry. Is that the right term? I don't know. He was one of the first poets to record himself, and he did a tour of the United States. He spent most of it drunk. Sounds about right, seeing he was a chronic alcoholic. But him, I think it was on Monday, him and Sylvia Plath, both, I think they shared the same birthday. So this one's called Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who sang and caught the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Do not go gentle into that good night. And you, my father, there on that sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light. And the next one by Dylan is Lie Still, Sleep Be Calm. Lie still, sleep be calm, suffer with the wound in the throat, burning and turning. All night afloat on the silent sea we have heard the sound that came from the wound, wrapped in the salt sheet. Under the mile-off moon we trembled, listening to the sea sound flowing like blood from the loud boom. And when the salt sheet broke in a storm of singing, the voices of all the drowned swam on the wind. Open a pathway through the slow, sad sail. Throw wide to the wind the gates of my wandering boat, for my voyage to continue to the end of my wound. We heard the sea sound sing. We saw the salt sheet tell. Lie still, sleep be calm. Hide the mouth in the throat, or we shall obey and ride with you through the drowned. Quick song. Okay, quick song then. We have time, man.
You have someone coming in after you, so you got about it.
Right, okay, Delta, this one's for you. It's another folk song. It's Pair of Brown Eyes. Okay. One summer evening, drunk to hell, I sat there nearly lifeless. An old man in the corner sang of where the water lilies grow. And on the jukebox Johnny sang about a thing called love. And it's how you kid and what's your name and how'd you bloody know. In blood and death 'neath the screaming sky I lay down on the ground. And the arms and legs of other men were scattered all around. Some cursed, some prayed and cursed, then prayed and bled some more. And the only thing that I could see was a pair of brown eyes that was looking at me. But when we got back, labeled parts 1, 2, 3, there was no pair of brown eyes waiting for me. And a rove and a rove and a rove and I'll go. A rove and a rove and a rove and I'll go. And a rove and a rove and a rove and I'll go for a pair of brown eyes, for a pair of brown eyes. I looked at him, he looked at me, all I could do was hate him. While Ray and Philomena sang of my elusive dream. Well, I saw the streams, the rolling hills where his brown eyes were waiting. And I thought about a pair of brown eyes that waited once for me. So drunk to hell I left the place, sometimes crawling, sometimes walking. And I heard the sound of long ago from the old canal. And the birds were whistling in the trees where the wind was gently laughing. And a rove and a rove and a rove and I'll go. A rove and a rove and a rove and I'll go. And a rove and a rove and a rove and I'll go for a pair of brown eyes, for a pair of brown eyes.
And now for our main feature who closes it, the clincher closer, super duper bulldozer, Delta O'Hara, would you kindly come up here and take care of this evening, kicking it out.
Okay.
I'll give away these prizes and talk about next week and cry in my beer for more.
All right. Sorry I'm late. I came from San Pablo in the East Bay, and it took me ages. I had a chance of employment. I had to give a urine sample for the post office this afternoon. So I'm looking for work. So if anybody knows the job, I'm qualified for everything. Right. I don't know about this. This doesn't bend.
Oh, I can take that out of your way.
It's very strange that it doesn't bend. It's weird. Okay, I'm going to sit down. I have cartoons and framed pictures available extremely cheaply, $6 and $7, because you know it's expensive to come from San Pablo. Really, that's like beyond Richmond. So let me see. Since there's no microphone holder, we'll just have to improvise. All right, and I don't really need a microphone anyway. Okay. So, 8 minutes I have here. So I'll just shout. So I'm going to read 2 short, hopefully, pieces. They're kind of new. One is, this one I'm about to read was when I was like in my early 40s in Ireland doing phone sex. Okay? And the other one is then is in a different age group in a different country. Okay. So this is doing phone sex in a phone sex office where everybody is like just all together like this, no cubicles, you know, just all together. Doing phone sex, and most of the phone sex operators were gay fellas pretending to be women, and they were actually the best operators that there were. Okay, so, and thanks for your time because I'm trying to work this piece out. So, I'm reading the training manual. There was a training manual, yeah? How to conduct a good live chat. The first 15 seconds of every live chat are very important, as it's during this time the caller may make the decision to hang up or continue. Alright lads! Seamus, an alert-looking early 20s gay man with agitated, graceful movements, snatches on his headset, quick punches through message exchange, sprays his underarms with deodorant, and announces to the room, "Wrecked! Only slept 2 hours!" I read a wanking punter an advertising slogan out of a randomly open magazine, and then, off an equally randomly passing bus, another. Oh, I forgot to mention we're looking down at the street. We're 2 stories up and we can see the street, Dame Street in Dublin. While my thoughts slide in and out and around something I vaguely recalled or heard in passing, until he comes, and I go on break to the staff room's single window, get blinked on and off by a giant neon sign of, for anonymity's sake, called J.T. Eppelberg's Eye, which out over revelers and tourists, spilling out of hotels, motels, B&Bs, cars, taxis and buses into lines for fast food and ATMs, then on into pavement thronging and darting patterns, FL, FLI, FLICK says, lazily open. How long will I be doing degrading, poorly paid work? Eating bargain bin food? Drinking rot gut? Unsporting second-hand duds? Stealing bicycles to make ends meet? Barely meet, not even. For how long exactly? I ask the eye, stashing my beer can and getting back to work, i.e. back to drifting alternating tides of anxiety and boredom while listening to Seamus on interminable personal calls embellish all his last evening's exploits. As the night's denizens, the ranks continually swollen by similar others, pouring out of cars, taxis, buses, off trains, etc., wander cobblestone streets into trendy bars to text and shout in each other's ears as they order pints, shots, cocktails, drinks made out of ice cream, or drinks on fire. Tourists and residents pouring in and out of my mind's eye and out of all the bars in the area, or made out of something blue. And you've worked in a bar before, yeah? Haranguing solicitously, Roy, back in off a break, asks me if I could go in and see to Lizzie in the bathroom. Have you got a tampon? She wants to know. I excavate one from my makeup bag and put it under the door into her palm. Is it your last? Then get back to dealing with punters while thinking of titles for the #1 best-selling novel I'm going to write that will take me away from all this. Lizzie returns to fade in and out chit-chat. Met so-and-so yesterday. Yeah. She said this job's going over at Cadbury's. Yeah. You know, chit-chat with Roy, while punters shout, "Open your legs," at me through my headset. The poetry of conversation. It's got possibilities. Oh, how about wank nurse? Does either title really sound like a bestseller? Open your legs, monotonously, one punter after another as if directing the can-can. Roy's now chattering like a magpie in old lady mode. The news tires muttering sordidly away in Slovakian, and in the corner, gay operator Derek reflexively rubs his fingers around inside his mouth, making pussy noises, Lost as he is in witchcraft made easy. Just a bit left of this go. Lizzie's hand. But what if yours starts? Closing and vanishing in my head while I think as well about something I've read or heard in passing or glimpsed in a dream. A slogan from one of the office newspaper's back pages advertising some other company's phone sex service screams up at me, "You'll come in 30 seconds. Come in 30. Come in 30. How? How to come in 30 seconds. Meanwhile, down on Fascination Street, it's OP, it's OPE. It's opening time. Well, that was a bit complicated, I suppose. Okay, so I'm going to read one other shorter piece. All right, so this is set in California in 1994 when I was in my 30s, I think, or late 20s. Or early 20s. Anyway, I went to a wedding with a bunch of people. Probably because she happened to be around in the bar when it was being discussed, Shelley'd gotten invited to Amanda's wedding. In carefully selected gloves, picture hat, formal outfit, amongst fellow guests in basic Reservoir Dogs black, high on Class A drugs, she caught a ride down the coast after pausing at the actual wedding ceremony to someone's mother's beach chalet. Serious rocker-style dudes and pallor and bruise makeup dudettes stood around, holding conversations peppered with actually, substituted more or less frequently with totally. On a deck chair in the midst of the gathering, adjusting her bikini bottom's clinging edge with a manicured fingernail, lay a flame-haired girl, a line of cocktails at her elbow. Shelley mixed herself a drink. She didn't want to be that girl. There's seals out there, someone commented, and everyone looked. Everyone looked through shades. Shelley knew the minute she did want to be that girl, she wouldn't ever be. At the reception, the bride made a speech and an Amazon caught the bouquet. Then it was back to the chalet for more drinking, more naked swimming, more amphetamine, more heroin. Shelley at one point dancing around on her own inside, and a beach fire that never really took off. All she'd ever really remember of the event was a joke told by a guest with an eye tattoo on his neck. Guy moves into a neighborhood and gets invited to a party there's going to be a lot of boozing at. He thinks it over, but no thanks. Next night, Guy gets invited by the same neighbor to a party at my place tonight. And tonight, there's going to be a lot of fucking going on. A lot of fucking going on. Sounds great, says the new guy, but I've got an early start. Pass. Shelley, watching the eye, waited. A few days later, here's the neighbor round again. A party at my place. And tonight, this time, there's going to be a lot of fighting. A lot of fighting going on. New guy thinks, fighting! A lot of fighting. Hey, yeah. Okay, why not? But, oh, what should I wear? Wear what you want, dude. It'll just be you and me. as Shelley, while with everyone else, laughed long, she realized at last that she was cool. A realization she wouldn't necessarily retain throughout the years to come of how could I have been with him, how could I have done that, etc. and so on, in which she would struggle and succeed and at least as often fail, knocked down, not always but sometime by her own punch, before picking herself back up. Thanks.
Delta O'Hara, thank you so much. And now the concluding portion of this evening where I distribute these wonderful prizes to those remaining. Omnivore's Dilemma. Omnibus. Oh, yeah. It's an anthology of poetry with many, many well-known names in it. I could read it to you here just for the heck of it. Catherine Herrera, Jim Barnes, Stephen Collett,
Alistair Cook.
We got, well, Charles Bukowski is in here, Ann Dillard, there's interviews, Poetry Review, Poetry Magazine, from 2015? No, 2012. Cappuccino Cowboy, in case you. And then, of course, if you want to come back next week, you can choose either of these two wonderful things. The keynote, Had the mini feature with Delta just did, and also Jimmy Ireland did the keynote earlier. And thank you so much. Would you kindly just shuffle that?
Oh, you're calling yourself Jimmy Ireland now?
I call him that. He doesn't call him anything. Also,
Irish. I'm sorry.
one other
I
thing,
apologize.
the food barrel is going to be here for at least a month, so if you come back, relate to that.
Gulai.
You put this over here. Thank you. My mother, thank you. My brother's cousin's best friend's uncle. All right, a drum roll, please, as you know. And first up, Jim.
Jim himself.
Jim Pitch. You are a winner this evening. Fine theft better than a whiner. Any of these fine prizes are yours.
There he gets the car. He gets the
car?
Yeah, the car beat the car. It's an off-road car.
Take the cash, take the cash. Take the
You know,
It's a good car. He goes for Cappuccino Cowboy. Good choice. Drum roll!
What did you take, sir?
Oh, Miss Huff.
There she is. Sure.
No.
Anyway, it's very bright. Lining your mind in mind. They go ahead with you as you like.
We fixed it.
I think you gave me one of these, so you're probably not taking that one.
No, I meant that one.
All right, on the bus. And number 16 doesn't have a name. Oh, yes, it does. Garrett Murphy.
Everybody's a winner.
Those cards and letters right there. Next week we have.
Put it at the table, Garrett.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's everything.
Next week we have Kim Shark as the feature, and she's well known, well liked, and really quite stellar. So it'll be a good thing to come for that. I'll be here. I know that.
What?
Stella.
Today? No, next Wednesday. And Jimmy.
Himself.
Jimmy Ireland. Again. You come up here and take one of these. You take anything you want.
Scottish.
I know. He knows better than I.
I don't know. Think about it.
I'm not even sure that's a good Scottish.
I think I'm doing Canadian.
Well,
Well, you got
think again.
He's studying the book.
I know you're not
Don't
doing
do it
Joyce.
now.
I can't help but do Joyce.
You get to take it
I'm
home.
from Jersey. Are you from Jersey? Of course.
You can always bring it back if you don't like it.
Okay, moving along.
He goes for the poetry.
right.
All right, the next winner of the evening, Mr. Hal Rabbit.
Oh, there he is.
The esteemed Ravener.
More poems to memorize.
How you do?
This guy knows more poems than I've ever forgotten.
He's got a whole book of them.
The answer
George. Well,
I
he should be.
this, well, either really, because this
He
is,
should be the.
you already do this, but you can do this too.
He always does other people's poems, Dan.
Yeah, I always do.
It's a natural.
You get 8 minutes. Okay. Hal Robbins will be the mini feature next week.
You got a can of sardines and that prize ever? Come on, guys, we get something.
Mr. Al Nightingale.
Starving poets, no.
Mr. Al Nightingale. Either of these are yours. You can do this, or if you want to do the keynote next week, you need to talk by somebody else. Okay, I'll put you on. And then,
Hey, the natural man.
Owen Knuckles.
Upside down.
We have a book right here for you.
Mr. Natural's taking down the camera. Time is short. And
I'm going to say goodbye to our folks out there on the web. See
Nice
you
to see
later.
you again.
Happy trails to you. I am